Good morning, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your stay in Tokyo. And today I would like to present about a study titled Profiling the HIV Pre-Exposure Prophylaxis, or PrEP, Cascade in Japan, a latent class analysis of a nationwide cross-sectional survey. The authors, including myself, declare no financial or non-financial conflicts of interest to disclose regarding this study. And in Japan, maybe I don't have to remind you all, but gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men, collectively referred to as GBMSM, are disproportionately affected by HIV in Japan as well. In 2019, they accounted for about 72% of new HIV cases. And HIV prevalence among GBMSM in Japan is projected to increase to about 9% by 2050 if without expanded interventions. So in response to this global challenge, the WHO recommends the use of HIV pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP, for populations in need. So oral PrEP, particularly TDF-FDC or Truvada, taken daily or on demand, is a highly effective and cost-efficient method for preventing HIV acquisition. And real-world studies in Japan support both its efficacy and cost-effectiveness. However, despite this, the scale-up of PrEP in Japan has been quite slow. TDF-FDC, or Truvada, was only officially approved for PrEP use in August 2024, as Mr. Iwahashi has mentioned yesterday. So this is much later than many other countries, including Taiwan, which approved in 2016. So we are like 8 years behind Taiwan. And it's still not covered by Japan's national health insurance, posing a financial barrier to many people in Japan. And in addition, Japan lacks a clearly defined PrEP cascade framework, a model that tracks individuals across the stages of awareness, willingness, initiation, and a consistent use. And analyzing trends in this PrEP cascade can help policymakers and researchers identify critical gaps, address behavioral and structural barriers, and develop strategies to enhance PrEP uptake among GBMSM. So our study had two primary objectives. One was to develop a PrEP cascade for GBMSM Japan. Second was to examine group profile patterns associated with the key drop-off point in the cascade using latent class analysis. Latent class analysis, I'm sure some of you are familiar, but it is a statistical method that is used to identify unobserved subgroups within a population based on individuals' patterns of responses, how they respond to these questions across multiple observed variables. So our study, we conducted an online community-based cross-sectional survey between February to March 2021. Recruitment was conducted through a dating app for GBMSM, a popular gay dating app. So these are the advertisements that we put it on the app for about 1 month. So clicking the banner directed users to an information page outlining the study objectives, voluntary nature, and lack of compensation. Eligible participants were GBMSM aged 18 years or older, and we excluded everyone living with HIV or those who did not answer questions related to HIV testing history. And for data analysis, latent class analysis, as I mentioned, was used to identify subgroups at key cascade drop-off. And factors included age, region, income, and so on. And logistic regression was used to examine associations. So these are the participants' characteristics. A total of 5,923 eligible responses were analyzed. The mean participant age was 38.6 years old, and 23.5% of them were aged under 30. Most identify as gay or bisexual, and around 62.8% of them resided in urban prefectures, defined as having a population density over 1,000 persons per square kilometer, which include Tokyo, Osaka, Kanagawa, Saitama, Aichi, Chiba, and Fukuoka. All the other prefectures were defined as rural. So we captured about 40% of rural residents in our study. And despite being conducted during COVID-19 pandemic, the majority of participants reported recent sexual activity. Approximately total of about 30% had sex with 6 or more men in the past 6 months, and about 25.1% of them had reported having a friend living with HIV. This was remarkably high, considering that the overall HIV prevalence among the GBMSM population is as small as 3%, at least in Tokyo. So I guess our participants were relatively connected to the HIV community. And about comfortability discussing sexuality and sexual behaviors with healthcare providers was only 21.9%. So about 80% of our participants reported feeling not comfortable discussing sexuality with healthcare providers. So here we present the PrEP Cascade, which is the main finding of our study. Of the total sample, 52.4% of them were aware of PrEP. This was conducted in 2021, so I guess it's much higher now. But at this stage, it was 52.4%. And among who were aware of PrEP, 76.4% of them were willing to use PrEP. And among them, however, only 20.5% of those who are aware and willing to use PrEP have ever initiated PrEP. And among those who initiated, 43.3% were on daily regimen and 54% was on on-demand regimen. So the latent class analysis for our study identified 4 distinct classes. The first class was named as sexual adventurers. They were characterized by high sexual activity, low condom use, higher prevalence of STIs, and a strong HIV community connection. Class 2 was named as reserved bystanders. None of them had a friend living with HIV, and none of them felt comfortable talking about sexuality with healthcare providers. The third class was named as positive allies. They had moderate sexual activity, but the most distinct characteristic is that they were strongly connected to the HIV community and felt relatively comfortable talking about sexuality with healthcare providers. Class 4 was named young explorers. All of them were aged under 30 years old, and they had moderate sexual activity. So PrEP initiation varied significantly across classes. All of these people are aware and willing to use PrEP, but only the highest prevalence was among sexual adventurers, which was about 37.6% of them who have ever initiated PrEP. For class 2, 10.4%, class 3 for positive allies, 15.4%, class 4 young explorers was 11.8%. And compared to reserved bystanders who had the lowest initiation rates, sexual adventurers, class 1, and positive allies, class 3, had the higher odds of initiating PrEP, as seen in these regression results. So moving on to the conclusion, so our findings highlight a very low PrEP uptake despite high willingness, with the greatest drop-off in the PrEP cascade occurring between willingness and initiation. So although awareness was quite moderate at 52.4%, they were still lower than in the PrEP appeal study conducted by Professor Benjamin Bevington and his team, which reported about 80.7%, which is, this discrepancy, although we're not very sure, it's most probably could be attributed to differences in geographical coverage. But willingness, in any case, was found to be relatively high compared to previous studies. But despite high willingness, PrEP initiation remains low, and it appears much lower than neighboring Taiwan, where 14.5% of them reported current PrEP use in 2021, the same year this study was conducted. So such low PrEP coverage may be inadequate to achieve sustained reduction in HIV incidence, which underscores the need for greater investment in interventions that support PrEP scale-up in Japan. Sorry, this is my last slide. And our LCM results underscore 3 key barriers. One is limited HIV community connections. We found that GBMSM with limited connections, limited HIV community ties were less likely to use PrEP. So strengthening social networks and normalizing discussion about HIV and PrEP may promote uptake. And I think recent studies have also mentioned that it's not just people living with HIV, but social network in general could help promote PrEP uptake. The second point was about healthcare discomfort. So discomfort discussing sexuality with healthcare providers may inhibit PrEP access in Japan. So interventions aimed at training providers to deliver affirming care, supporting and affirming care may be essential in promoting PrEP uptake. The last but not least are youth-specific challenges. So young GBMSM may face barriers such as low income and limited health literacy, which might inhibit PrEP access. So strategies to address this could include subsidizing PrEP cost, making generic PrEP available, and also targeted information campaigns via social media platforms. So finally, all the authors would like to thank all participants for their contribution to this study. This is all for my presentation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in Tokyo. Thank you.